Darkness enveloped the living room, the only light emanating from a flickering television screen.
Sighs.
Sarah sat curled on the sofa, a blanket clutched tightly in her hand. Her eyelids felt heavy, the day's fatigue settling in. But something kept her from surrendering to sleep, a prickling sensation on the back of her neck, an awareness that she was not alone.
Whispers, it's just my imagination.
She glanced at her watch. 11:58 p.m., almost midnight. She chided herself for letting her imagination run wild. The old house was known to creak and groan, especially at night. It was just her nerves, she told herself, the silence amplifying every little sound. With a sigh, Sarah reached for the remote and switched off the television. The sudden silence was deafening. Her heart pounded in her chest, each beat echoing in the stillness. She closed her eyes, willing herself to relax. A faint scratching sound sliced through the quiet, coming from the hallway just outside the living room.
Gasping, what was that?
Sarah's eyes flew open, her breath catching in her throat. She listened intently, her body tense. There it was again, a soft scraping noise, like claws dragging across wood. Fear, cold and sharp, shot through her. Her mind raced, trying to rationalize the sound.
Maybe it's a branch. Yeah, just a branch.
But deep down, a primal instinct told her otherwise. This was no branch. Sarah slowly rose from the sofa, her bare feet sinking into the plush carpet. She crept towards the hallway, each step hesitant, her heart pounding like a drum in her chest. The scratching sound grew louder as she approached, sending chills down her spine. Sarah peered cautiously into the hallway, her eyes struggling to adjust to the darkness. The scratching had stopped. The air hung heavy and still, thick with an unseen menace. She felt a shiver crawl up her spine, a sense of dread settling in the pit of her stomach.
Whispers, please, no.
She took a tentative step into the hallway, her hand trembling as she reached for the light switch. Her fingers brushed against cold plaster, but the switch seemed to have vanished. Panic surged through her, constricting her throat. The scratching resumed, closer now, coming from the direction of her bedroom door at the end of the hallway. She froze, her blood turning to ice in her veins. Someone or something was inside her room. The distinct sound of heavy footsteps sent a jolt of terror through Sarah. They were slow, deliberate, and getting closer.
Whispering frantically, oh no, no, no.
Her breath hitched in her throat, her mind reeling as she realized the gravity of her situation. She was trapped. Her gaze darted around the hallway, searching for anything at all that she could use to defend herself. But there was nothing, just the cold, bare walls and the oppressive silence that seemed to amplify her fear. The footsteps stopped right outside her bedroom door. Silence. Then a loud, aggressive knock.
Screaming, who's there?
Terror, raw and consuming, seized Sarah.
Oh no.
She backed away from the door, her hand flying to her mouth to stifle a scream. The knocking came again, more insistent this time, rattling the old doorframe. She could feel the vibrations through the floor, shaking her to her core. And then she heard it. A voice, low and guttural, whispering from the other side of the door. The words were garbled, unintelligible yet laced with a chilling malice that sent shivers down her spine. It was not a sound any human could produce.
Sarah!
Sarah stumbled back, her hand frantically searching for her phone in her pocket. She had to call for help, had to get out of the house, but her fingers closed around empty fabric.
Where is it? Oh no, my phone.
Panic surged through her as she realized she had left her phone in the living room. The whispering intensified, growing louder, more insistent. It seemed to wrap around her, seeping into her bones, chilling her to the core. The doorknob rattled violently, the sound of wood splintering piercing the air. She was trapped alone with whatever lurked on the other side.
Please, no.
With a deafening crash, the door burst open, splintering wood flying across the room. A swirling vortex of darkness materialized in the doorway. It pulsed and shifted, an abyss of inky black that seemed to devour all light. The whispering ceased, replaced by a silence so profound it was deafening. The air grew heavy, thick with a palpable sense of dread. Sarah could feel her heart pounding against her ribs, her breath coming in short, shallow gasps. She was paralyzed with fear, unable to move, unable to scream.
What is that?
And there she stood, facing the unknown, consumed by terror. From the heart of the swirling darkness, two eyes materialized, glowing orbs of malevolent red that pierced through the shadows, fixing Sarah with a chilling gaze. They burned with an ancient hunger, a malevolence that sent shivers of pure terror down her spine.
Oh no, what is this?
Sarah felt a cold, unseen hand close around her throat, lifting her off the ground. Her vision blurred, her lungs screaming for air as she clawed desperately at the invisible grip that held her captive. She struggled in vain, her body contorting in the suffocating hold of the unseen entity.
I can't breathe.
As darkness encroached, threatening to consume her, Sarah's hand brushed against something hard and metallic on the floor. Hope surged through her, faint but insistent. It was a candlestick knocked from the bedside table in the struggle.
A candlestick. Maybe I can use this.
Summoning the last vestiges of her strength, Sarah closed her hand around the candlestick, her fingers tightening around the cold, smooth metal.
This has to work. It has to be.
With a desperate cry, Sarah plunged the candlestick into the heart of the darkness. A blinding flash of light erupted, followed by an ear-splitting shriek that seemed to tear through the very fabric of reality. Sarah squeezed her eyes shut against the blinding light, her ears ringing from the deafening sound.
What is happening?
Then silence. Sarah slowly opened her eyes, her vision blurry, her body trembling. The hallway was empty. The darkness was gone. The only evidence of the terrifying encounter was the splintered doorframe and the candlestick still clutched tightly in her hand.
Is it over?
Sarah stumbled back to her feet, her heart pounding in her chest, her lungs desperate for air. She had vanquished the creature, or so she thought. As she turned to flee, her blood ran cold.
I need to get out of here. Now!
Reflected in the mirror at the end of the hallway, a shadowy figure stood behind her. Its eyes, glowing red with malevolence, stared directly at her, a chilling smile spreading across its face. The unseen terror was not gone. It had only just begun.
No, this can't be.